You can tell a lot about the quality of an operation by the quality of its outhouse. Yeah, pretty good. Buckle your seatbelt. This is Bob Duchense's Wild Maine. And we're really hitting the road today. We'll pay a visit to the Flagstaff Hut to the Maine Hudson Trails. We'll spend a few minutes at last weekend's Easter Maine Sportsman Show, and I'll drop into the trapping demonstration at the Maine Forest and Logging Museum at Leonard's Mills in Bradley. Bob Duchense's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dysarts, EBS, Doors Equipment, and Napa Auto Parts. Last weekend, I was recruited by Maine Hudson Trails to do a birding talk and walk at the Flagstaff Hut. We begin at the trailhead parking lot where I will start skiing in, and you can expect the show to go downhill fast. I arrived at the trailhead on that beautiful Friday afternoon a week ago. There's an outhouse in the parking lot, and as you heard, my inspection went pretty well. There are a couple of things to worry about. With this much snow, are there any birds around for my walk? And how am I going to carry everything in on skis? The date is March 6th. The time is 2:27. At 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, I'm supposed to be leading a bird walk along this stretch of the Long Falls Pond Dam Road. So, in excess of caution, I'm here early just to check and see what birds are here. And the answer is none. Oh boy. 3:15, leaving the trailhead parking lot. Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous day. Still a blue sky, it's March. The spring is slowly approaching, the sun is up higher, there is no wind. It's low 20s. Snow is perfect. What a day. The Maine Hudson Trail system, they give you a list of things you're supposed to bring in yourself. And they're just the light essentials, things like a sleeping bag. They have pillows, but you bring your own pillowcase. Change of clothes, something to slip on your feet when you go off to the restroom. You know, not very much stuff at all. And so I packed a very light bag. And after a half mile on the trail, I think I picked up the bag with bricks. They look so much alike. Hey, who put this hill here? This is one of those spots. About a third of the mile down the trail, I come to a clearing, and the sun is directly over the top of Bigelow Mountain, shining straight at me. The mountain is majestic, the sun is powerful, there's no wind in the sheltered spot. This is the part of beautiful Maine that so few people see, and it's incredible. I knew this was going to happen. You know when you're going uphill and you realize the hut is down in the lake? That somewhere after the uphill is a downhill? Well, here we go. The trail in, there's actually two ways in from the parking lot. There's a short shuttle way, which is maybe a mile long to get to the hut. There's a longer way that's 1.8 miles. And that brushes the lake in several places. It's a more wooded area trail, a little narrower. Both are spectacularly well groomed. Slick, easy to walk. Trails are grooved, although... Whoops! Chickadees! My God, there is bird life here. Whew. So back to that whole downhill part thing. Still going slightly downhill towards the lake. We reached an area that was probably cut relatively hard. Looks to be about 12 to 15 years ago. So it's fairly sparse. Good young vegetation, so all of a sudden there's snowshoe hair tracks all around me. I had one of those moments a few moments ago where you start to feel all of your age. Lanny Love Cochran, who got me into this in the first place, is also carrying some gear in on the sled behind her. And she goes flying by, skating the whole way. Just a blur. Well, I'm plodding along. What's wrong with this picture? Halfway to the hut, downhill, about to make a corner, and there's my first rough grouse tracks in the snow. Not in the last 24 hours, but since the last storm, I put it back about a day or so that these tracks were made. But I look around the woods, all young, regenerating growth. This would be grouse heaven. 0.3 miles to go. Had a big turn, and it looks like it downhill, so I'm heading down. This is either an account of the descent or my last will and testament. Woohoo! Okay, that was good. Now, that's a pretty easy downhill. The only thing that makes me nervous about this downhill is that I got to come back up this hill tomorrow with a full pack. Ooh! I'm at the crest of a small hill. It turns at the bottom rather sharply. There's a guy coming up. Another one, another two behind them. If they knew I was bombing down out of control, they'd run. Well, coming up in the hut, I can see Flagstaff Lake directly ahead. Here we go. It's beautiful, just beautiful. Flagstaff Lake on the right side. Covered in ice and snow, gleaming in the sun. The sun's over my left shoulder, directly over the Flagstaff hut. Calling this a hut is like calling the Taj Mahal a cottage. As I face the building, the kitchen and dining area is on the right. There's a wood stove in the dining area with a couch and rocking chairs, so this also serves as the lounge. But straight ahead of me, there's also a quieter library with plenty of plush chairs and couches. Behind that, the showers and restrooms. The toilets feed down into a state-of-the-art composter in the basement. And this is also where all the wiring is. The hut is completely off the grid, making solar power to handle the entire load, with just a generator boost during the busy morning hours. To the left, separate buildings contain the sleeping quarters. It's just bunks and single beds, and rooms are shared. Fortunately, I didn't have to worry about somebody snoring keeping me awake, because my own snoring drowned them all out. Up next, Program Director Lanny Cochran schools me on how to use Maine huts and trails. This is Bob Duchense's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Bob Duchense's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Maine Huts and Trails operates a hut on the backside of Flagstaff Lake. I'm in it. We're about 15 minutes from dinner, and there's a lot of bustling going on around us. Lately, Maine Huts and Trails has been stepping up its programming, bringing in a variety of experts on a variety of subjects. The person behind all that is Lanny Cochran. So, Lanny, I could ask about all your other programs and special weekends, but I'll start with the obvious. What am I doing here?
Uh-oh, if you don't know, we're in trouble. You are here at Flagstaff Hut, and you're going to give a birding presentation tonight, and then tomorrow morning you're going to do a bird walk.
And if I piece all this together, it's because Maine Huts and Trails really started out with a good series of walks and hikes and properties, and now it's building in a lot of different activities, a whole calendar of events, so that each hut has something exciting going on much of the time.
Yes. One of the things that we feel is really important is our educational part. And so what we're trying to do is have someone who can come in and do a birding class, a nature walk. We have an astronomer. You know, we're really trying to get people out into our huts, experience what it is like to get off the grid, and then actually that educational component that they really love to know.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's do the basics. How many huts? How many miles?
Okay, we have 4 huts, and we have 80 miles of groomed ski trail. So you can ski hut to hut. You can ski to one hut. The terrain is varied. Some huts are super easy to get to. Some are a little bit more difficult. You know, it's really whatever you want to do, we have a hut that can match what you want.
Because each one really is different. They have their own personalities.
Mm-hmm.
I say that having only been to one, so how the hell would I know?
That's right. That's right. Well, and you did pick the best one, Flagstaff. But Stratton Brook is up on a mountainside, so you get the beautiful views of Bigelow Mountain. Mm-hmm. Poplar has the river, so you can walk up the river. It's also the first one, so it has that claim. Flagstaff is on the lake. It follows the shore. It's a beautiful hut. And then Grand Falls is right next to a 120-foot falls that is beautiful to go see. So each hut has its own distinct personality, its own unique way to get there, and also they all have different ways of getting there.
And each one probably has a different use per season too, because some are maybe better for certain activities. Some, you wouldn't have a wedding at each one of these four, but Flagstaff you certainly could.
Right. You could do that, but you're right. Each hut has its own little personality, whereas Stratton Brook is kind of an event hut. We have that's where we have different people come in and do birding or moose watching or whatever. Flagstaff has the water, so of course you always want to come out on the water. And Grand Falls is great for fly fishing and paddling. So we try to have, like I said, each hut has its own distinct personality, and we try to match it to what you're looking for.
Yep. Now, when somebody wants to actually do this, they decide, okay, I've heard enough about this. It sounds like fun. I should do it. What's the next step? You go online?
Well, you can go to our website, and it has lots of information. There's so much there. You can spend all day just, using that as a way to figure out what you want to do. But another thing is to call the office. We have reservationists there who know a lot about the huts and the trails, and also they can tell you what different events are going on. I mean, we really have so much going on, from a fat bike festival to harvest at the huts to a birder to a moose rut weekend. We have so much going on that we want to just, you find out what you want to do and we'll provide it for you.
Let's get back to that Fat Bike Festival, because one of the things that struck me, this is my second time here. I came once in the fall, I think 2 falls ago, and it really struck me how solid the trails were. I mean, clearly something went right, because the cross-country ski trails are very well groomed. It was great for biking. Clearly these trails have got more preparation than the typical trail you would find in Maine.
Yeah. Well, we're trying, we want to, really what we want to do is have a 4-season resort. We want to have biking and hiking and paddling, snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, and each hut has something that is unique to itself. Like I said, Stratton Brook, we just built a brand new trail called Oak Knoll. It's a 4-mile trail system that is, if you're into mountain biking, you have to go paddle. You have to go bike it. It is amazing. It is such a fun trail.
Yeah.
So the biking is great. The hiking is great. I mean, really, we're trying to do a 4-season hut system where we're not just about winter. We're about summer also.
Yeah, but it is 4 seasons, and the seasons change, so the way you operate the huts changes as well. You've got full kitchen, full dinners, part of the season, and then when things slow down, it's a different usage.
Yes, we have what's called a self-serve, where you can come in and have access to everything in our hut, from our commercial kitchen to our bathrooms to our lounge to the dining room. You can use everything that you want. You just bring in your own food. It's $35 a night. It's a great deal. And we also do a full hut rental. If you want to come in April or May, rent the hut, full hut rental, half off, $300. So you grab your friends, grab your colleagues, and use our amazing lodge, and you can have access to everything.
Yeah, because it's April and May. We're talking about mud season, bug season. This is an opportunity for somebody who doesn't really care because they're really native Mainers and that doesn't bother them.
Yes,
to
exactly.
get out here and have some isolated fun when you've got it all to yourself.
Yep. Well, and this, with the great snow that we've had this year, we're going to be skiing probably through April. Maybe even May.
I want to see what this mud season looks like if we get a hot day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
When does the ice usually go out on Flagstaff? Any idea?
I would say probably, mid-April.
Yeah.
Depends, what's going on in the spring. But yeah, you can say about mid-April.
Yep. Now, when you're doing a full, the busy season, when you have a full kitchen and serving meals, you also have wine and beer. And is that year-round, or is that only during the...
If we're providing food, we're providing wine and beer. And then we have a great selection of local brewed beers and wines that we can give you. And then in the self-service, you can bring your own wine and beer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That does make it sound very attractive.
Oh, it's it's really so fun where you can get your whole family together, come here, stay in the hut. You have everything provided for you. You can cook your own meal. I mean, it's really a wonderful deal.
Yeah. And you know that I'm a birder, and that's why I'm here. In fact. But late in May, when you have that half price and nobody else is going to come out and swat bugs, that's when the birds, especially right around here, must go crazy.
Oh, yeah. And not only just the birds. The really neat thing about Maine is the distinct seasons. And when you come out here in May, that's your best opportunity to see those animals that are coming out of hibernation. They've had a long winter. They're active. From the loons on the lake to we have at Flagstaff, we have a great little, our neighbor is the beaver lodge down the path. So you can go see the beavers. So really the distinct season also gives you a lot of opportunity to see things that you're not going to see in the fall or the winter.
Yep. If somebody wants to try this for the first time, is there some piece of this that is easier to walk than the other? How would you break somebody in on this?
I would say if you're going to ski in, Flagstaff is a super easy ski.
That was so easy.
It was very easy. But the nice thing is once you get to the huts, we have snowshoes that you can borrow. So if you want to go, play around on the lake and go see what's out there, we have the vista, we have the shore trail. So once you get to the hut, there's still a lot of great things that you can do. If you're looking for a bigger challenge, you can start at one trail and, further down the trail and ski further in. I would say if you're going to come to the huts and you only have one day, maybe Flagstaff might be the best hut for you. But one of the best things about us is the multi-hut experience.
Yeah.
You get to experience our diverse trails. You get to see the own personality that the hut has. And the other thing too is our hut staff. We pick them. We handpick them so that each hut has its own staff, and they, that's part of the whole experience is coming out here, meeting them, seeing how much love that they put into the food.
Yeah, clearly, because you probably don't pay them that much, so they must love it.
Well, we're past the slave labor days there, but they're not doing this because they're getting rich. They're doing it because they absolutely are passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah.
We're a nonprofit and we are off the grid. Our logistics are a little bit more complicated than a regular system, but we are so proud of what we do. We get you off the grid. We get you out here and you can reconnect with family, with nature, so you can have a little adventure, but we're also going to take care of you. We know you're coming. We're looking for you. We're providing your food. We're providing you with shelter, but the adventures you're getting here.
Yeah. And in fact, we have a wood fire going in the other room. I'm sure it's audible on microphone right now that there's a whole bunch of people who are preparing for supper, which is going to happen any minute now.
That's right. And I think tonight is shepherd's pie, which is a classic. I've never had anything but the best dinners at the hut. So.
All right, let's go eat.
All right. Perfect.
This is Bob Duchense's Wild Maine. We'll finish up with Maine Huts and Trails in a moment. And by the way, if the name Lanny Cochran sounds familiar, you probably know that she and her husband Chip also operate Allagash canoe trips. And they've been guiding the Allagash professionally for almost 2 decades. On the way, a much colder night spent outdoors, a moose calling contest, and a whole lot of stuff about trapping that I didn't know. On Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Bob Duchense's Wild Maine. Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8. If you're just tuning in, I'm at the Flagstaff Hut of the Maine Huts and Trails Loop on the backside of Flagstaff Lake. I'm here at their invitation to do a birding presentation, which was packed last night. And I'm happy to say the walk this morning turned up a boreal chickadee right behind the lodge. If you thought we only had black-capped chickadees in Maine, well, think again. These are brown-capped and are only in the northern part of the state. Here's what struck me most about my time here at the hut. It was quite a range of people. One couple with toddlers, another couple of families, plenty of adults of all ages, a touring group with LL Bean, and a handful of folks there for the birding workshop. Well, it's time to head back out. Saturday morning, 10:20, leaving the hut. I feel so sorry for the rest of the United States who thinks that Maine is too cold in the winter to have any outdoor fun. It is a gorgeous morning. Sky is blue, the snow is Not sticky, it's fast, there's plenty of it, it's well groomed. Leaving the hut, they fed us like royalty this morning. Scrambled eggs with lots of herbs and stuff. Plenty of bacon. Pancakes with maple syrup if you wanted it. Gallons of coffee. A late departure after a leisurely morning, and now we're out in the woods. And it's a gorgeous morning. You know, there's something about March. January, certainly February most of the time, can be really cold, and yeah, I get it. Maine can be an inhospitable place for people from away. But once you get into March, you're only weeks away from the vernal equinox, the beginning of spring. The sun stays up longer. It's higher in the sky and beats down. And these days try to be cold, but they can't seem to manage it. It's a strong, powerful sun, not much of a wind, maybe 5 miles an hour. All the sun is gleaming off the snow, so I'm overdressed. I'm way too warm for the activity I'm doing right now. I kind of blew it. Time to switch gears. You might remember a few weeks ago, I had Diane Kopek on Bob Duchense's Wild Maine. She is a professor at Unity College, and she had just convinced Bangor Daily News outdoor writer John Holyoke to spend a night in a quinsey. A quinsey is a winter snow shelter built out of snow. Diane offered to have her students build one if John Holyoke would sleep in it. They did, and he did. So when I got to the Eastern Maine Sportsman Show last weekend, the first thing I did was go to the news booth and corner John to get the real story about what happened that night. Well, John, as you probably know on my radio show, I actually interviewed the person who built your quinsey for you.
I had heard that.
I knew what you were going to go through because she has one in her backyard, and I got to see it. So you survived. That was against the odds.
It was against the odds. It wasn't the cold that I thought was going to get me. It was, a collapse of the roof on my head. I was more concerned about that.
Yeah, there was an office pool about whether you would survive or not, and I think a lot of people were disappointed by the result because they bet the other way.
I'm not surprised by that. My office pool was, people were betting that I would have chickened out and not done
it. Now, you spent the entire night in there. What time did you get in the sack and what time did you get out? Did you, or were you anxious to get out?
Once we woke up, I was anxious to get out.
Yeah.
I slept soundly through. They have a student activity center there at Unity, and it stays open late. So we were able to eat snacks up until about 10 o'clock, and then we went back and got snacks for the quinsey, and we probably got in there at midnight after Brian finished taking photos in the dark, and we did a bunch of stuff with photos. And then we were in there at midnight, slept till 5:30, woke up and realized, oh my gosh, it's 12 degrees in here. And I'm not as comfortable as I thought I was anymore. So then it was time to get up.
Now, was that because you just didn't bring enough bedding, or it got colder than you thought?
Got colder than we thought.
Yeah.
Our master plan was we were going to block the doorway, and they had told us to do that.
Yeah.
So we thought that Brian's backpack was going to adequately block the flow of cold air in.
Yeah.
As it turned out, his backpack wasn't big enough to do that. So we had cold air coming through most of the evening, and it was 4 degrees below zero outside. It was 12 or 14 degrees inside, which is fine when you're asleep and dumb and happy. But as soon as you wake up, you realize, it's not really all that warm in here.
No. Did they train you ahead of time on techniques like wearing a stocking cap or something like that?
They did. They did. They trained us, and then they brought supplies. Diane brought stuff for us. It was, they rolled out the red carpet like you wouldn't believe. To the point where they issued us all these supplies. Okay, here's your half a bale of straw. So we put a half a bale of straw on top of the snow bunk that they built for each of us. Diane brought old wool blankets that we put on top of the straw. And then Brian and I each had a sleeping pad and 2 sleeping bags each, a mummy bag, and then a rectangular bag, which we snuggled in. Each of us snuggled into that while in the mummy bag. And so it was really quite cozy.
Yeah. For me, I think an essential supply would be a fifth of Southern Comfort.
Well,
was there any temptation?
Well, I didn't put this in the story, but at the Student Activity Center, they might have a bar. and we might have had a couple of beers each before we jumped into the Quincy.
That's right. You can't leave the campus till you pay your tab.
That's right.
So would you do it again?
People have asked me that, and I've warmed up to that idea. Mm-hmm. What I was saying last week was I'd do it again, but not tomorrow and not for fun.
Yeah.
But now that I've been warmed up for a week, I'd do it again.
Okay, what lesson would you have learned that you would do differently next time?
Block the door.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Block the door was the big one.
Yeah.
And the lesson that they taught us was have somebody else build the shelter for you.
Yes.
Because if we had to do that whole thing by ourselves, and we'd been in an actual wilderness situation, it would have been totally different.
Yeah.
Getting back to warm again would have been tough. And at that point, we probably would have been sweating after hours of work.
Yeah.
When we had 12 students there working with us, working for us on our behalf most of the day. They had 40 students in the morning to make the pile of snow.
Yeah.
Then we had 12 or 13 that actually did the digging with us. So that's the big lesson. If you can find someone else to do it for you, that's a great time.
Well, when Diane Kopek built that one in her own backyard to test it out before, she used herself as a guinea pig before she used you. And that was just she and her husband who put that together. Can you imagine the work it took?
It must have taken forever. That was the part that was really scaring me. I didn't go inside that shelter. I got some minor claustrophobia issues, I'm realizing. And, being in a really confined place where I thought there were tons of snow over my head, it wasn't really appealing to me. But I didn't go in until the shelter was big enough that I could stand up in and turn around. And then I helped shovel a little bit. To be crawling, Diane, when she was helping right at the beginning, we had to pull her one person on each foot and pull her out. There was no way to really get out of your digging. You're digging, the snow's falling on your head, you're getting soaked, and then you have to have and they can't hear you when you say, okay, pull me out. You have to holler 4 or 5 times, and then they pull you out by the feet. So
don't oversell this.
No. I'm not sure making it yourself's the way to go.
I'm listening to this tale saying, I am never doing this.
I'm not sure I'd build one myself.
Yeah.
But
and on the other hand, when I interviewed Diane on the air, she said she's sorry that she waited until she was in her 50s to do it. Wish she'd done it young.
It's really amazing, when you look at the structure and what it is when you get done, you're like, wow, I could have done this. And it's really a pretty simple prospect. I don't know if she talked to you about the sticks that they put in the Quincy at the beginning.
Yep.
And the mound of snow ends up looking like a porcupine. It's got sticks sticking out of it all over the place. And those are all stuck in about a foot. And when you chisel away at the inside of the structure, what you're doing is you're going until you hit a stick. And that ends up with this perfect dome of about a foot thick snow. We had a problem because we had a Great Dane that was running around on campus that day, and his name was Moby. And Moby loved sticks. So as soon as the Unity students could put the sticks in, Moby was running up to the top of the pile trying to steal the sticks out. So
bad dog, no biscuit.
Yes, exactly what happened.
That was John Holyoke of the Bangor Daily News. Of all the things I saw at the Eastern Maine Sportsman Show, it was another Bangor Daily News writer who put on my favorite classroom presentation. Aislinn Saranaki writes and blogs for the BDN, but her 1-minute hikes are particularly popular. She did a presentation at the show called Hiking Lessons Learned the Hard Way. That'll be on next week's show, and you really got to hear it. But up next, moose calling, and then we're going trapping. This is Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket with Bob Duchenne's Wild Maine. The Eastern Maine Sportsman Show was last weekend. One highlight every year is the moose calling competition. Over the years, I've learned 2 things about moose calling. It's really not that hard. And if you're going to lure in a moose, have an escape plan. As usual, the professional Maine guides are on stage with a quick demonstration of how this works.
And so he'd do something like this. Then you know you got one started. And then after he started, I tell everybody when you're actually calling, you don't want to overcall. They're just like turkeys. If you call too much, sometimes they get suspicious. But when you've got one coming on a rope and you know that you really got him hooked, he's going to sound something like this. Every time he makes a step, he's going to go. What I usually do first thing in the morning, if I'm trying to get a bull started, I actually I call as loud as I can, and it kind of distorts it. It won't sound quite as well as it does if you do it softer. But all you're really trying to do is locate the bulls, and you're trying to get them started. So you want to go as loud as you can, and a cow call would sound something like this. Like that. Okay? And then once you got your call started, if that bull's coming in, as he's getting a little closer and he's doing his, he's walking towards you. When he gets a little closer, he might get just a little more personal. It'd be like, something like that.
All I'm saying is, if I were a moose, that would work on me. More from the Sportsman Show next week. But what a snowy winter this has been. At the Maine Forest and Logging Museum at Leonard's Mills in Bradley, cold weather and deep snow have been messing up a really good schedule of events. A couple of weeks ago, I attended a trapping demonstration at Leonard's Mills, but there was just too much snow to get out in the woods, and we ended up standing around a snapping pot-bellied wood stove as Paul Favolis explained trapping to me. This is something I know absolutely nothing about, and some of my questions are just a little basic. Well, let me ask you one simple question. How often do you actually reach into the trap accidentally and snap your finger?
With the smaller traps, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
It really happens a lot. But you really have to watch your beaver traps. There's a lot of our streams and beaver flowages, there's a lot of tannin. It's black water. And people have been killed reaching down to see if a trap is set and getting their hand in it, and that's the way they find them frozen. It has happened. I've been hit by those big conibears, a beaver, a 330 conibear for beaver. I've never caught one across the arm or in the hand, but I got one under my knee, and oh man, I'll tell you, I saw stars. So you really want to watch those large traps.
Well, how did you get started with trapping?
I was 10 or 11 years old, and I just, there were a couple of kids down the road from me that trapped. I was invited to go with them. I went, and I never looked back. You know, I stayed with it, and that was 1966.
Where was that?
In Waterford, Connecticut.
And what were you trapping for?
Rats, muskrats.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I trapped the feeder streams that went into the salt marshes, and the salt marshes themselves. You know, on the northeastern part of Long Island Sound.
Yeah. When you're that age in Connecticut and you got a dead muskrat in your hands, what are you going to do with it?
Skin it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Skin it, stretch it, and I had some help. I had some help getting started, and I'll never forget my first one. I'll never forget my
Never
first
forget
one.
your first muskrat.
That's right. That's right.
So what brought you to Maine?
Work.
Yeah.
I was a ground fisherman, and in 1990. We packed up, and I ended up on Beals Island. I worked on a gill netter. I dove for sea urchins. I worked on a lobster boat, and I started cutting wood in the winters, and I fell in love and stayed here.
And we got a lot of stuff to trap.
Yeah. In some places of the country, I mean, fur bearer densities are amazing. The thing is here, there seems to be more diversity. We have things in Maine that you can trap that other people just dream about. Fisher and martin being two of them. Our cat population, in most, except for the extreme northern part of the state, our cat populations are really good.
It's funny how often you'll see signs of bobcat but not actually see them.
Yeah,
isn't that something?
Yeah, they're reclusive.
Yeah.
Quite reclusive. There's quite a few of them around. Every now and then you'll see one.
Do you have a favorite critter that you like to trap?
I like running the rivers. I love trapping rats, and I really enjoy trapping mink and coon also.
You must be somebody who goes in the woods and you can see everything. You can see where the runs are. You can see where the beavers have been chewing on aspens.
That's why I fall down so much.
I mean, the woods look different to you than they would to an average person.
Oh, I don't know.
You must see something and say, oh, there goes a run for otter. Or
It's something that's almost, it becomes second nature. It just comes second nature. And the difference in the runs, you know, mink will run, they'll go down muskrat runs because they do feed on them. You'll set a trap in a muskrat run, and occasionally you'll catch a mink in it. But the actual mink runs that you see are what's the word I'm looking for? They're not as well defined. It's a kind of vague. Actual mink running through the grass, it's kind of vague. And they spend more time underwater than a lot of people realize. And the crappier the weather gets, the better the more time they spend underwater.
This portion of Bob Duchense's Wild Maine is coming to you from Leonard's Mills, the Maine Forest and Logging Museum. Trapping expert Paul Favolis and I are huddled around the wood stove in the museum's blacksmith shop. Personally, I've never had any interest in trapping myself, but I'm beginning to see why some people love it, even though it's a lot of work and not that much reward. There is just something that gets to you when you get so close to nature that you get into a battle of wits with it, a battle you're usually going to lose. There's a special kind of woodscraft that lets you read the forest. I get that because I do something similar in the woods. And we'll go into that next on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchense's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. We're wrapping up a visit to the Maine Forest and Logging Museum at Leonard's Mills in Bradley. My guest is Paul Favolis. He's a trapper, and I'm learning a whole lot I didn't know about trapping. Some people can just read the woods. We're at Leonard's Mills right now. I can walk around here in the spring. I don't have to see the birds. I know where they are because I can read the woods. I know what trees they like and stuff like that. When you get to a stream, you must see the same thing with beaver, otter, muskrat. You must see where they're going to be even before you know they're there.
Yeah, you get a real good idea. If you find their feed, you're going to find the animals you're looking for, and they're so adaptable. Muskrat and beaver is kind of cut and dry. They will. I'm not saying they won't feed on they don't have a varied diet, but get animals like your mink. They eat trout. They're real good fishermen, but they're unbelievable mousers. Otter, they're fish eaters. They get a bad rap.
Fish eaters? Why?
Because everybody thinks, well, they kill, and they do kill trout.
Yeah,
they do kill trout. But if you look in their droppings, you find otter. They will habitually deposit their droppings in certain places, and they're called toilets. And you look at them, you pick them up, and you break them open, and you'll see scales. They eat a lot more rough fish than they do trout. They like that, and eels. And then in other places you'll find these vernal pools, and it looks like tar. Their droppings look like tar, and they've been feeding on tadpoles. They'll gouge themselves on tadpoles, and it look like they're using them for coal patch.
Yeah. Do you find there are certain animals that are just clever?
Every one of them, all of them, all of them do. The weasel, members of the weasel family. One of the things is that they're so aggressive. They're weasels. They're not real hard. They're not trap shy. What we'd call trap shy. Then you get into your canines. The whole thing is trap placement and probably cleanliness. Not leaving a whole lot of human scent. And that's just the more you do it, and the more sets you make, the less time it takes. And that's you'll never beat a canine's nose. You're not going to beat a coyote's nose. It's not going to happen. Now beaver, they're not much smarter than I am, but once you pinch one, or if they've got sticks in their mouth and they hit a 330, they hit that trigger of a 330 with a stick, and that slaps in their face, man, they can be awfully hard to trap after that.
Quick learners.
Very, very quick learners. Your big conibears, they're the mainstay.
So what is a conibear for people who don't know?
It's a square, it's a body gripper. Yeah. This one here would be the size of it. Used for muskrat and mink. This is a 4.5 by 4.5 inch trap with a single spring. The 330 conibear, it's 10 inches by 10 inches, and it's got two very, very powerful springs.
And what we're looking at is a trap that you basically traps the body. The mink
right.
or whatever runs through it. Rather than trapping a leg, it actually grabs the whole body.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And one thing we try to remember, when you say leg, as far as land animals go, you never, ever want to set a trap and catch a land animal across the leg. Get them across the paw. If you'll notice on this trap here that I've used for coyote, you can stop incidental catches with this just by adjusting that pan tension. There's a bolt and nut where that pan goes onto the base plate, and you can tighten that up. You can eliminate your smaller animals out of this trap. Now that offset, a lot of people will think, well, they chew their legs off. They don't chew their legs off. What happens is their paw is in that trap. There's no blood circulating into the bottom into their toes, and what they'll do is just like you were chewing a hangnail, they'll chew their toenails off. That's what they'll do. There's nothing holding it below that. They'll pull out. These offset jaws, they allow the blood to circulate, and if they go ahead and they bite their foot, it's going to hurt. And they stop. They don't do it. And the other thing, too, is we have to check our traps once a day.
One of the concerns you'll always hear from public is, how do you avoid catching my dog?
Keep your dog where it belongs, and you don't have to worry about it. I had a dog that I caught, and I caught him twice. He didn't have much between his ears. Two nights in a row, I caught him in the same trap, in the same set, using the same kind of lure. The second time, he stayed there for half an hour. And before I let him go, there was you couldn't even tell. When I let him go, he made a beeline for home, and there wasn't anything slowing him down. He was fine. In the 70s, I caught a beagle in a muskrat set, in a foothold, actually as a pocket set that I dug into the bank. It was kind of a combination mink and muskrat set. I had a foothold trap and a piece of horn pout tucked back into the hole, and I caught a beagle. But apparently somebody had let it go. The thing was emaciated, and it actually got into the water and got caught in a trap set for mink and rats. That dog went to the vet, but just because it was so, like I said, its ribs were sticking out. It was wicked wormy, and I ended up keeping that dog. I spent I don't know how much getting him back to health. There was nothing wrong with his foot. I was caught in a number 1.5 long spring trap. There was not a thing wrong with that beagle's foot. I don't know how much I spent. The dog got fattened up, got nice and sassy, opened the door, and it took off, and I never saw it again.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so.
Back to the question of whether animals can outsmart you. Do they actually sometimes pee on a trap to mark it for others? Or do they do anything clever like that?
No. If you... They don't know that trap from a baseball. If you have a trap that's been dug up by a canine or a coon for that matter, you've made a mistake and you got something on it. Usually it's bait or a lure. You may have gotten a little bit of lure on a trap. They'll smell that and they'll dig it up. When you say peeing on a set, that's something you want to try to simulate. Just watch where they go. They have habits. There's things that they like to urinate on, and that's where we'll put some fox urine or coyote urine.
Okay.
And bed your trap accordingly. Set your trap.
So you actually look for a place where they like to go take a leak and set the trap there.
It's usually something kind of prominent. If it sticks out to you, it's going to stick out to them. It may be just a tuft of grass or a little hummock next to a logging road or something like that.
I always see the poop on top of rocks.
Yeah, they'll do that. They'll do that. Fisher and martin will do it. Muskrats do it. Mink will do it. Rocks and logs and stuff like that. Yeah, that's
it's
true.
a territorial marking thing, I presume.
Yeah. Cats will scratch. They'll scratch up and leave their droppings.
Do you actually look for poop in the road and say, "Here's a good place"?
Yes. Yeah. That's real good. That's real good sign to look for. They'll show you where to set a trap. They'll let you know. I don't know about other states, but in Maine, you cannot set a trap within 150 feet of any exposed bait. People think that's one of the big misconceptions about trapping. You take a whatever, big piece of something, you throw it out in the woods and set traps around it. Nothing's further from the truth. For fox and coyotes, a lot of times we don't even use bait. We'll use lure, and I mean just enough where you can dip a Q-tip in it and put that in the bottom of what we call a dirt hole set, and put that in the bottom. And if we do use bait, it's like that, maybe the size of a golf ball. You don't need a whole lot.
Well, they got a nose.
That's right, and their nose is phenomenal.
Yeah, and for a lot of critters that you just trap because of a run, you don't have to bait them at all?
That's right. Yeah. And even the cats. I'll trail set for cats. Trapping is the most heavily regulated activity in the state, as far as our outdoor stuff goes.
And not enough people know that. It's really heavily regulated.
Very heavily regulated. It needs to be. You think about it. You go hunting or you go fishing. What you went out with, you come back with. Now, we're leaving gear in the ground or in the water. There's a responsibility there.
When you're out there in the woods trapping, do you want to catch a skunk, or is it something you'd rather not have?
No,
You get out there and say, "Oh, damn, it's a skunk."
No.
No?
The what we call the quill, that's their scent. That's worth $20 an ounce in some markets. And you just have to extract it. I don't mind catching skunks. Skunks are very attractive to other fur bearers. Your Fisher and Martin lure, it's a heavy skunk base to that. Some guys will make it. What you're doing is you're taking pure quill, pure skunk musk, and you're mixing it into Vaseline. And you heat the Vaseline. And do this outside. do this outside, not in the kitchen. I'll tell you, that'll be the last time. But just keep stirring it in.
That looks like a good place to take our leave from Leonard's Mills in Bradley. Next week, Aislinn Sarnecki of the Bangor Daily News explains hiking lessons she learned the hard way. Bob Duchense's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dysarts, EBS, Doors Equipment, and Napa Auto Parts. We'll be back next Saturday at 9 a.m. and Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And we're always online afterwards at 929theticket.com. This is Sports Radio 929 The Ticket.